3 and a bit years, and I finally figured out how I get myself in that top right corner instantly from a pod. 3.5 years. Anyway, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to everybody. Yes, you're probably expecting Martin. Some of you might not have been if you saw the morning rabble as well, because Martin has Hamilton internet, which is completely different to the rest of the country's internet. Because as Trev put it, they're just doing 2 cups on a string to do their internet in Hamilton. I think he's upgraded to modem and dial-up as we speak. So hopefully it'll be better from next week. Afternoon to everybody except Charles. And with me today is someone I've not been on for a very long time with, and I've missed him, is our Trev. You right, Trev?
All right, guys. Yeah, sorry. Stuff going on in my personal life. I can't make as many pods, but I do like to try and make some. So I'm getting on well, and I am looking forward to talking about all things Rangers, Gerrard, and as the appointment comes up in the next week or two, hopefully.
And the man who's currently checking all things Sky Sports by the looks of it to make sure that we don't miss a trick is Willie Irwin. How are we doing, mate?
No, I was just actually checking to see if my wife's plane had landed for her holiday. Because I'll need to play Rush after this and actually kid on that I actually hoovered and cleaned the house while she was away.
I'll be doing that later as well, because, quick tidy up on a Friday. Move things about that might look like they've been tidy. That's how you do it.
See, you learn that after years of marriage. See if you just move a couple of things about and it looks like you've done something for the last 10 days, when in reality I've done none of that.
Chuck water on the floor. I mopped it. That's how you do it. Yeah, easy ways. So it wasn't your wife's plane, was it? You're looking to see if Gerrard's left London. That's what you're doing.
See, to be fair, at this point, he's got to be somewhere, doesn't he? Because he's been everywhere in the last 24 hours, so he's got to be somewhere, and hopefully it's putting pen to paper on a contract to become the Rangers manager again, because I think at this point, I know it's only been a week, but it just feels like it's been forever.
It does, but we are going to start off with one little bit of horrible news. We don't like to do horrible. We thought we'd get away from the negative stuff now that a certain someone had left the club. But overnight, images showing up on socials. It was in our group chat today as well. Of, I don't know how the paper will put this. Football fans maybe trying to satellite to Walter's statue outside of Ibrox. Now, I don't care where your allegiances lie. I don't care whether you like the club or not. Walter Smith, Scotland legend, Rangers legend of a man. There's absolutely no need to turn up at Ibrox and try to set fire to stuff. I don't understand the mentality of some people, Trev, and what they're trying to do and what they think is it going to propel them into some sort of martyrism and everyone's going to love them and they're going to take over the country sort of deal. I just don't understand it.
I watched a little video clip that someone took of it, including the fire brigade turning up. Because to be fair, one woman, I think she might be a supporter, is trying to actually move away some of the burning stuff from the bottom, but you don't want to climb up the thing where there was a couple of more flames. So fire brigade turn up, try and put this out. And there must have been at least, within that one fire truck, there must have been at least one Blue Nose supporter there that must have been absolutely disgusted seeing what he's seen in front of him. That's not football fans. That's just probably the young team or some wee Neds or something thinking that they're being gallus. And what they've probably done is just caused a bit of damage. It's going to take a bit of money actually now to repair that, because you done pretty crap job of actually trying to take down a statue properly. This thing is a work of art. The guy that done it is a genius. I don't recall his name. I'm sorry, I don't recall his name. I know he done. Did he do one for Sir Alex Ferguson? He's done another famous football person, but it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, this. And you try to take it down, scum. Just scum, man. I hope they catch them and make an example of them.
Well, I mean, I can't disagree with anything that Trev said there, and I wouldn't, because it was bang on the money. Anything to add to this? What was that? A deplorable act by someone?
Yeah, I've just always felt that these type of things, it's like an unwritten rule that you don't do things like that. Look, at the end of the day, like Rangers and Celtic fans have a lot of banter with each other. Obviously, a lot of his work with, guys that support each other, and we get guys that go to the games and we kind of text each other back and forth and stuff like that. But yeah, that's taking it to another level. Whether it was Celtic fans or not, I don't know. As I say, it could have just been stupid young boys that just thought it would be funny. But yeah, I just don't think there's any need for ever doing something like that. It's just totally disrespectful, and I think, as we've already said, hopefully the people or the person that did it, who thought that was a funny thing to do, gets found pretty quickly, because I would imagine that it would be better that the police find them before somebody else does, because that sort of thing just does not go down well amongst a lot of supporters of a lot of clubs, especially with people that have got that legend status, with the statues outside, many stadiums in Britain. So yeah, things like that should just never, ever, ever happen.
It's that one person in Glasgow that crossed that divide where everyone will speak highly of him. So if you have done it and you're watching this by any chance, because you might be, you never know, just be prepared. There's going to be backlash, and if you find out who you are, your life could potentially be ruined. You've seen people's lives get ruined for a lot less on social media and all the rest of it, losing jobs, family, not talking to them, and all that sort of stuff. What I don't want to see, though, and before we move on, is I don't want to see, because I've seen it in the comments as well, that there'll be tech for stat stuff. The Union Bears will go over there now and do stuff to their stat. Yeah. We don't need to see that. Mm-hmm. That's not what we want to see. It's been done. That person will be found, because there's someone else rightly put. There is CCTV all around Ibrox, because it is a football stadium. And the UK, there's not very many places in the UK you can walk now without being seen. So you'll get caught, and that'll be the end of it. And Trev, just for you, Will Smith to Douglas Jennings.
I actually googled that while you guys were talking away there, and he done the statue for Queen Elizabeth. That's what it was. It wasn't another football person, and he done a cracking job with that. So I hope there isn't too much damage.
The second biggest legend he done after Walter Smith. There you go.
Fair enough.
So let's move away from that, and let's get on to everything that we are actually meant to be talking about at the moment as well. That we have, depending on where you look, imminent or not so imminent news on who's going to be the next Rangers manager. Because obviously there's lots going on about Steven Gerrard being in London and having a little look and talk and all the rest of it. But one person in particular, I think he's at it a little bit, boys. I really do. Jermaine Defoe seems to be posting a picture an hour of him in airports, in taxis, wrapping his stuff up, drinking coconut water out of vases with certain things on it. Trev, Willie, because you got the last word the last time, Trev. Is Jermaine Defoe at it, or is he trying to subliminally tell us some stuff?
Yeah, he's at it. He can't help himself. He's a bit like a kid in a sweetie shop, isn't he? He's wanting to tell everyone and scream it, but I saw that comment, Gallant. Cheers for that, pal. Keep me on my toes as always, is Gallant. I think I was trying to figure out if that was Glasgow Airport in the background. You don't see much, so if anyone's a detective out there and can look at the clip in detail and see if they recognise any wee tiny bits of Glasgow Airport, then we've got a clue. I reckon he's been called up to be the striking coach. It seems like a no-brainer to me. He worked with Stevie G at the end in some sort of coaching capacity, so it's a no-brainer, to be fair. And a couple other names that were mentioned as well. I think it's great. I think Heathrow T5. Wow, you're pretty good, my man. And hopefully that's going to Glasgow then. Bring him home, mate. Bring him home. I love the guy.
Willie, do you think that Jermaine's letting us into the inner sanctum secrets? Do you think he's mad enough to let us into the inner sanctum secrets of what's going on? Because I think I posted up in the WhatsApp group yesterday. It was just a little comical. Everyone saying, right, Jermaine, we want you to come in, but please don't tell anyone. Yeah, no problem. Snap, 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 snap. Away he goes. There's somebody in the comments earlier on at the beginning. I don't think it's there now, but before we started, it was like, yeah, it is. There we go. Singing the blues. Defoe keeps secret like Isaac from Still Game. Do you think that Defoe is giving away secrets he shouldn't, or is he just playing a little game and knows exactly what he's doing?
Look, I mean, see, for all we know, the deal's already been signed and everything's done, and he's just kind of winding everybody up, isn't he, for a couple of days? But look, I think at the end of the day, regardless if he's going to be part of the Rangers backroom staff or not, he's certainly somebody that's held in very high regard by the supporters. he came here and did a really good job for us. He was one of the best strikers, during his time playing football, which says a lot about how good a player he was. And I think, yet again, I think it goes back to that thing with Gerrard, potentially, that he's, able to attract somebody like that to Scotland. Because I never thought I would ever see somebody like Jermaine Defoe playing in Scotland. I know we'd seen Ian Wright, sort of many years before it when he'd signed for Celtic and stuff like that. But see, at that point, I would imagine Defoe was earning a truly obscene amount of money, and he obviously came to Rangers for a hell of a lot less. Obviously, in the end, he got what he came for, which was to win something, and he would have be remembered for that for a long, long time. But I think the big thing with Defoe is, I think he's quite enjoying himself. Whether everybody else is enjoying it, I don't know. I think it's quite funny. I mean, if you can't take what he's doing in that manner, then I don't really know how else to take it. It would be funny if, if he has announced as part of the backroom staff that they actually let him do the video for the announcement, and he just turns the camera around and there's Steven Gerrard standing next to him. Because I think that's what they should do. They should actually take it further if he is part of the backroom staff.
Well, there was a couple of pictures, although there was blurry as Trev's background, that people
That's
were trying.
That's your eyes, Hamish, I told you.
Well, I told you something else while we were talking as well, so let's not go there. But people trying to decipher is that Gerrard stood behind him, stood next to a perfume shop? Is that Gerrard getting in the car behind him, getting out the car behind him, walking across the car park? So it's just a little bit of fun. And if there's a lot of people in the comments saying, look, Defoe wouldn't do that to the fans if there wasn't something in it. There may not. There may well be something in it, but we're not going to know until the club try to announce it. Just before we move on, a little bit of housekeeping. We don't normally do the new subs, but because he told us he was a new sub, Big Dazza, he's in. New sub here. And we'll do the first of the super chats for today. Gaz, 1872. I'm buzzing for the return of Gerrard. Can't wait till it's done. It would be great to see Defoe too. Mr. Knee on Defoe, because that would be Defoe. But Defoe, I get what you mean. It's fine. Trev, Gerrard. Your feelings on Gerrard returning to the club if he is to return? Because I can't say that he is or he isn't at this point.
Yeah. So it's on record, when he initially did leave, I was like, screw you, you left us. The first person, as the quote I used the other day, the first Premiership club that flashed the knickers, you were off, you were gone, you left us, and we were 6 points clear and all that kind of stuff. I was like, nah, you don't do that. There's a time to leave and a way to leave, in my opinion, boys. And that wasn't it. But then time goes by and time's a healer and all that. And then you find out that he wasn't really properly getting the backing he wanted. Hence why he's talking in detail with the board at the moment to make sure he gets the assurances he wants, because he wants the tools to do the job properly this time. So I've forgiven him. I have forgiven him, because it wasn't all on him. He gets it. He's the only person in that list that will get it. I'm excited for him to come back, and I actually want to enjoy going back to Ibrox again, boys. It felt like a chore. I would do it just to catch up with my pal more than anything else, and I don't want to feel like that. I want to actually enjoy the football and a buzz of going back, open up the main stand again. If he comes back, let's get in more people than we did last time.
Well, Kenny in our chat was asking, would they open the stadium again, and would they need to open more, Willie, if Gerrard returned to the club? So that main stand, would we fill the main stand and a bit more if Gerrard returns? And just your thoughts, because I haven't seen or heard anything from you, because I've been at work a lot recently, on the possibility of Gerrard walking back up the marble staircase to be the gaffer.
Yeah, look, I don't take things personally when managers leave or get sacked. I think that's just the nature of the game, isn't it? Obviously it was disappointing when he left, because he'd obviously just won the league title. I think we were 7 points clear of Celtic, 6 or 7. We just beat them at Ibrox. And I've said it many times since then, I genuinely believe if he'd stayed, we would have been on to 1, 2 or 3 because of how we were playing. But look, I totally understand that, the opportunity to go to Villa when he did, he was probably promised more money and stuff like that. Yeah, again, that's a big part of football, and I would imagine that's part of the chats right now. I'd imagine obviously be Kavanagh being there in Parag, that they'll be talking about the squad. how happy the manager is potentially with the squad. I'm sure the owners are thinking, please don't ask us for another 20 or 30 million here, because they've obviously already spent a lot in the summer there. But look, it's an almighty job for him to come into. I think it's a better job this time than it was the first time. The first time we weren't in a great place at all. The club wasn't doing very well on or off the pitch. But what he did was bring a respect back to the club, which I think had been missing for a while. And also the European runs, which, I mean, if I'm totally honest, that wasn't something we were particularly used to, was the European runs. So the fact that he did that and the money from that helped the club. Obviously, it is kind of bring in more players as well, like Ryan Kent, who was probably the big signing during Gerrard's time in terms of the monetary side of things. So it'll be interesting if he is given the job and if he takes it, what he does with the squad. Because I would imagine the one thing these players will do straight away is have the utmost respect for him because of the player that he was. And I'd imagine that makes a difference. I'm not so sure. I mean, yeah, again, I don't know this personally, but it never really felt like the players took to Russell Martin in terms of how he was wanting to play. I mean, look, we'll never know these things unless the players come out and say that, but sometimes you can read body language, can't you? And you can look at players and think, yeah, that just doesn't look right. So it will certainly be interesting. We've obviously got a lot of really tough games coming up. You know, Hibs away, Celtic, get Branagh away. We've got Roma at Ibrox in the next 4 or 6 weeks. So whoever comes in basically needs to hit the ground running, because we need to try and get up and running in Europe, and we need to get back to winning league games.
Janet's telling you off. The RM name is banned from all chat. We do not talk about him. He doesn't exist. We didn't know who he was. Wasn't here long enough to get his name right. That's what that was.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing for me is I think I'm glad the owners came out and said what they did, that they basically admitted it was a mistake. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are paying for it. They're the ones that brought him up here. They're the ones that have had to pay him off, and his backroom staff. They're now having to pay another manager. And they're now having to pay another bunch of backroom staff. It's a mistake that's been made, and the thing is, they can't afford to make that mistake twice. So they really need to get this appointment right. And if they believe that Steven Gerrard's the right man, then I'm sure the support will get behind them instantly. And I'm sure you'll see a big difference in the gates, especially in the European games, given how poor the gate was for the first game.
Yeah, but showing us in, Alex Crook on TalkSport saying it's more or less done now on Sky Sports. So that's 2 big hitters in the UK telling you that the deal's more or less done. Only time will tell. We might be back later on today, Trev, doing another breaking news pod, telling you that the new man's in, which will really help if they could do that over the weekend. That will help us through next week with the international break still being on. But talking about just that, because it ties in quite nicely with the ticket sales, Cammy K saying, I just checked the website and there's 13 tickets left for the Dundee United game. 13. If Russell Martin had been in, I think you could have got at least 3 zeros in behind that 13. So just the fact that he's gone with the potential of Steven Gerrard being the manager, ticket sales have automatically taken a massive boost.
I think this, from memory, I didn't check it myself, but when Russell Martin got sacked, that person who should not be mentioned, apologies, Janet, that charlatan was sacked before, the ticket sales went up quite a bit. Not to that level, only 13 left. Those 13 will probably be gone very, very shortly, I would imagine, before even the Stephen G news come in. People are just excited, like I said before, excited, and I think they'll announce it hopefully over the weekend, mate. I think they want to get him in for Monday so that there's a week to work with the guys that are there and get something ready for the weekend. His presence, Stevie G just walking into that dressing room will automatically make those players play a bit better without him doing anything. His name, his stature commands respect, and then he'll get working with his team and we'll see a difference. I reckon good times are coming very soon, people, so let's enjoy it.
Jackson Bell, just to answer your question, because you have put it in there, and you obviously weren't aware, it was sometime in the darkness hours, because that's what these cowards tend to do. Well, we have a question. I'm generally interested. Would people be happy if Gerrard brought Bill back with him? Now, this has been talked about on various shows, but everyone's got an opinion. So, obviously, you guys in the chat, not the comments, the chat, let us know what you think. But, Willie, if he brought Bill back with him as his coaching staff, which I think is highly unlikely because I think Bill wants to be or try at least to be a manager in his own right, would you be bothered if he came back?
Probably not, to be honest, because as long as Rangers are winning on the pitch, I don't really care. To be totally honest with you, I know it would probably split opinion amongst people, but at the end of the day, if Steven Gerrard felt that bringing back Michael Beale was for the best in terms of helping him be successful, then sort of who are we to argue? We'd rather not have Steven Gerrard as a manager. So that's the thing you've got to consider. I think what you guys are saying are right. I don't expect him to return. I think there's many other coaches out there that I'm sure Steven Gerrard will have spoken to. The one with the England assistant manager was the interesting one. He's obviously quite highly kind of thought of, especially down in England. That would probably tick a lot of boxes and would probably be quite a similar replacement for somebody like Michael Beale. In terms of the other people coming in, I would like to see somebody like a Stephen Davis or a Jermaine Defoe, somebody that has an affinity with the club. I mean, obviously Stephen more so, he was here for a lot longer, but I believe he's also the sort of person that can help, whether that's with the midfield players, whether it's with the attackers. I think you'll definitely see a set-piece coach coming in because I think that's become a huge part of the game now. But yeah, I mean, on a personal level, I wouldn't have an issue with him coming back, but I don't think he will return with Steven Gerrard. I think that time has been and gone, and I think we'll obviously see some new staff members coming in. Because I'm not even so sure you'll see Gary McAllister returning, to be honest, or a Tom Kilshaw. It might be that other than maybe one person who's worked with him previously, you might find that it's a lot of new members of staff, because the goalkeeping coach that he had over in Saudi was obviously somebody that had worked for Liverpool previously. So does he bring him in, or does he just leave the person that's in, kind of doing that work at the moment? I suppose we'll find these things out probably in the next couple of days, as Trevor said.
Yeah, well, here's an interesting one. Daryl's Perso Blue Boots has gone the other way. And we have Gary Mack in, and Stevie G is his assistant. I was at the only game that Gary Mack managed from start to finish. That was the Helander Header against Celtic. So, he's got my backing. That was the last game I went to, and pretty much one of the last we won at that point.
Ian, just to quickly add on to Willie's point there about the Beale situation, I have to agree, and I don't say this often, but I have to agree with the sniper when it's as long as he's seen and not heard, hopefully not even seen. He wouldn't be on the camera this time, because if he did come in, and I don't think he will, he would be back to being a first team coach, which he was good at. If that was the only way Gerrard would come back, I'd be like, fine, okay, because you wouldn't see him much or hear him much, and that's fine. But I doubt he will. Like Willie said, he's been a manager in his own right, and once you have that taste, you want to go off and do your own thing, and you don't want to go back the way usually in your career. So he can get who the hell the Liverpudlian God wants, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, he can. So stick with you then, Trev. Go with our Brian to start it all off. He was saying that it's and it's been in our WhatsApp as well. Steve Holland, he's not alone. Mike Kay saying Steve Holland would be class to have in, and Shona saying as well that Mike Holland would be some coup. Ex-Chelsea, I believe, or something like that. I'm not huge on the Premier League because I have lost my love affair with all things EPL because it's just boring to me now. But Steve Holland to come in alongside that, his Beale on this occasion would be this man. That sound like a good idea to you? Because I don't know, but there's a lot of excitement about it. That's all I know.
So what was he the England assistant that you were talking about a moment ago, or is that someone else? Yeah, right, okay. Well, I don't pretend to know the name very well because I don't really follow much English football at all, but his position says it all for me. It really does. Stevie G is fortunate that he commands a lot of respect across the spectrum, from fans to players to staff that he's worked with, coaches and whatnot. And within reason, he can almost have his pick of who he wants because they'll be excited about this project. So someone of his stature, Stevie G, approaches Holland and says, "You fancy a job?" I think they'd be excited about that project and the other names that have been mentioned as well. I was concerned that could we do this without Beale? But yes, because he wants, as he said before, he wants fresh people around him. He wants new people around him. That's part of it. If you stick with the same people, then okay, if he wins the title again, it'd be like, right, did he really, has he shown that he could actually win it with different circumstances, different staff, or is it just the same old geniuses that helped win him it last time? I think new names is a good thing, and everyone that's been mentioned, I'm up for. To just bring them all in, just have a lads' party, man, of staff. Like, just bring all these names in: Defoe, Kevin Thompson. Bring them all in. It's fine.
As long as Sir David Aware is one of them, I'll be really, really happy for the EOF role. But that's a different pod for a different time. Willie, singing the blues with another question. He's heard that Billy Reid could be coming as well. Do you know anything about that? I don't know anything about that. I was just wondering if anyone has any inside information.
Well, I think there's been several names linked along with Stephen Holland to come in. I think we'll just have to wait and see, basically, because we are all guessing at this point. I mean, the one thing that Billy Reid has is his experience of working in Scotland and England. And he obviously worked as well with Graham Potter abroad. So he would be an interesting one to bring in. He obviously would know the league a little bit better than maybe some others would. But I think the one thing that's interesting, Gerrard has basically said it since he first became a manager, is he doesn't really consider himself a coach. You know, he brings in people to do that job. He's more of the figurehead, the one that's willing to stand up in front of the press and speak and say what has to be done. He'll obviously, he's not scared to come out and have a pop at players. I mean, he had to do it with Morelos a few times, didn't he, when he had to stand, kind of answering questions on Alfredo getting himself sent off for something. And I think the one thing that Gerrard gets, I think, as you two guys have already touched on, is that he instantly gets that respect because of who he is. And to me, that's a big thing in football, regardless of the team you're at. And I think the fact that he's done it up here before and he kind of built a Rangers team from scratch almost to end up winning a league title undefeated with, obviously, the European ones. We should have done better in the Cups in Scotland. There's certainly no arguing that. But I think for me, it will be interesting to see who else he brings with him. Will he kind of go away from what he had the last time? Will he look to bring maybe one or two of them along again? Or will we see a kind of fresh, open kind of vision? And as Trevor touched on there, I believe him and Kevin Thompson actually got on quite well. So that would maybe be an interesting one for further down the line, should that happen. Because you might find that, they can't get all the staff straight away to start. Because some guys might be under contract at a club and, they're waiting for them to get their release or whatever. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see who it is. But obviously, first and foremost, we need to get the manager in the door and get things rolling, don't we? Because it is only a week until we play again, basically. So we really need to get back to it.
Yeah, and we need him in as of early doors next week to give him a chance. I mean, Gerrard's slightly different to understand the where the club is and what things are, but to get started and get working with the people that are at the club who are not on international break. But we have got another super chat in, a 20 Australian dollar. I'm not going to do it, Steve. I have far too much respect for you to even do an Australian accent. And he's saying, what a bloody panel. See what happens when Martin's not here? You get the big guns out. That's what you do. When Martin's not here, you bring out the big guns. So thank you very much for that $20 there, Stephen. Thank you. Michel Charon. Afternoon, folks. Could it be a right-hand man with an eye on the future? That couldn't be Beale. Stephen Robinson, for example. Now, with that, two things have happened. Ian T has just started shouting about how what's the downgrade, and the bookies odds will get slashed again because Stephen Robinson did fly up the bookies yesterday to second favourite. Trev.
Yeah, I'm not against him getting it. I don't think he will. I really don't think he will. But this, we've talked about it before, this snobbery almost we've got on who's a good enough quality of manager just because they come from the Scottish leagues. There's plenty of examples of that working in the past. So Big X, a perfect example of that. Stephen Robinson, he's done such a cracking job. He really has. Would he want to come in and be a number 2 to someone where he's a manager in his own right? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. But I think for me, if he did get it, I'd be a bit disappointed purely because Gerrard seems heavily keen and it looks like that's going to happen. So if that didn't happen, I would be pissed off that something broke down there. And then we're getting second best. But if he got it, I wouldn't be too sad. He deserves it, I think.
And then we get another question. Just when I thought all the questions had gone away, Paul McCorrickle comes in with another one. If it is Gerrard, do you think he would work with Thelwell's son? Gerrard would be telling him what players he wants, as opposed to Thelwell's son scouting and going, these are the ones you get. This is the ones you got a chance of buying. Will he go for that?
Yeah, seeing as I don't really know much about the lad, it's really hard to comment on it. Just kind of touching back quickly on the Robinson one, he is the only manager that I would take in Scotland if it was out of any of them. I think he's done I obviously live locally. I'm not far away from where, the stadium is, and I've got a lot of friends that are big St Mirren fans, and obviously I've been to some games because of where I stay, obviously, but I think he's a fantastic manager, and what he's done there is incredible. To take them to the top 6 time after time after time, get them into Europe, to actually get through a round in Europe, to play as well as he did against a really good team as well in Bran. I think he is possibly the best manager in Scotland that I would be linked with as a Rangers manager. I would be very content. And that's no disrespect to McInnes, but I do think that time's been and gone. In terms of Thelwell's son, I would imagine if Gerrard gets the job, there'll still be a lot of scouting work and recruitment work getting done. And if it's true that Steven Gerrard wants the final say on things, and that's the only way he'll take the job, well, that's how it's going to be, isn't it? Quite simply, whether they like it or not. That's because I think at some clubs you can get away with the head coach thing, and there's obviously recruitment going the other way. But I think when you're taking over the job like he is, and given what's happened in the last 4 months, I think it's important that we get stability back in the club. And if Steven Gerrard wants 1 or 2 players in January that might not be on the radar, I don't think that should be a big concern in the overall scheme of things. Because if he wants those players and those players can come in and make a difference, then, if that's what needs to be done, to get this deal over the line, then I would imagine it will get done.
Yeah, I think that he's there. There was that talk that he'd been told that he wasn't getting the job, but he'd actually started the day before that had broken. So, you don't believe everything you read. Mm-hmm. We don't know, Jackson. We don't know whether the board have spoken to Zed, Terzic, Motta, McKenna, Muscat. We don't know. I doubt they've talking to McKenna. I don't see McKenna leaving Ipswich anytime soon. There's nothing down here. Bearing in mind, I only live one city further up that they're saying that McKenna's even interested in leaving the club. There's been no news that he's leaving anywhere. Motta, that seems a bit out of there. Where Terzic, I would love Terzic. If Gerrard wasn't the one for this, Terzic, I'd be all over that because they can get him in.
I don't recognise the name.
He was a Dortmund manager, wasn't he?
Russia Dortmund manager. He was one goal away from beating Munich to the title, and took he took Dortmund to the Champions League final that year as well.
And Motta?
I think it was Bologna, wasn't he? It was that, and then he left there to go to Juventus. I think it was Bologna or Genoa. It was one of those two in Italy, and he did a great job. I think he got them into Europe, and then he got the Juventus job.
He was the one who took Lewis Ferguson to the Bologna manager.
You see, the big thing for me is, I don't doubt for a moment they'll have spoke to agents and they will have kind of touched base with people. I would imagine this process started a few weeks ago in terms of sort of reaching out, trying to get a feeler for who's interested. I'm sure they would have looked at who's been sacked recently. I'm sure they would have probably had some contact from agents contacting Rangers saying, look, our representative would be interested in speaking to you, blah, blah, blah. I would imagine they've probably spoke to 10, 15, 20 people, whether that's managers, whether that's agents, whether that's, people through football. I don't imagine Steven Gerrard was just the main one and they've just went straight to him, because I don't think that's how you do business in a lot of ways. I think you try to put the feelers out with regards to who would be available. I'm sure some of them would have said, look, I don't have any interest in coaching in Scotland, which is fine, because it's not for everybody, is it?
It's not. And so unless you guys have got anything else you want to talk about, because I know that the wrestling fraternity amongst us will probably want to get off, because SmackDown is now currently on Netflix due to it being in Australia. So I know that the likes of Geordie, Cammy K, Sniper, they'll be itching to get off to watch that. But here's some confidence. Telling you now, it's a 5-year deal. It's done. Finer details being ironed out. Stephen Armstrong says he's a bear that now lives in Liverpool, preying at Gerrard's family, and they're saying he's coming back.
There you go.
Only time will tell. And the most important question of the day from Geordie is, can I tell everyone how my spaghetti bolognese was the other day? Because I reached out to Geordie about this whole milk thing in spaghetti bolognese, and what do I do? How do I do this? What do I do? And he gave me the recipe to do it. Yep. I can tell you now, adding milk to your spaghetti bolognese, next level.
Okay.
Absolute premium tier. Amazing stuff. Loved it. It was great.
Okay.
Maybe we need to get a cooking show put together then, and we can put
the Rabble Cooks.
Rabble
I could see you cooking on the pan and all that. That would be dynamite for members. Honestly, even I would pay to watch that.
The big Rabble cook-off.
I remember, this is going back a ways now, but I remember another Rangers podcast doing that. A legend that is Snagsy was doing a chili, and he used to put it on their channel, and I copied it, and it was banging. So there you go. Anyway, that'll do us. We'll leave it there. I'm off to cook something, apparently. And Gerrard's on his way. Defoe's just winding us all up, and that's the end of that. And I don't even know if there's anything on tonight, folks. I've not even looked, to be fair. So keep an eye out for your notifications. There may well be a Friday night show going out of some description. If not, we'll get to the weekend. I do believe that there's another watch-along for Scotland games, possibly. There definitely is a wrestling watch-along tomorrow afternoon. Breaking news on that. I won't be on it because I can't make it, because the kids will be running around, and the wife's already unhappy that she hasn't seen me or not this week anyway, so I won't be on it because it's midday. And then Sunday, I think you have the boardroom and all your usual Sunday programming. So with that, I shall let you all go. My thanks to Trev and to Willie for joining me. For those of you who are going off to watch it, enjoy SmackDown. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Just enjoy your day, and I will speak to you somewhere else.